So Dad is cutting up in the highway field. So he started cutting there this morning and then he had to stop in the middle of the day because it was getting a bit too hot. So Dad is up here combining and now he's just going to talk to you about it. So how's the combining going?
Not too bad. This 15 acres now nearly done. I had to pull out with today, it was too hot. And when I came up first to start cutting, I got the shock of my life. We call this field the highway field. And just over there, Laura will probably show you before she goes, the whole side of the road was on fire. There was a couple of lads there with big shovels, and then the fire brigade had to come to quench it. Now it's only across the road from this field. You know what straw's like, one spark and the whole lot will be gone. I wouldn't mind, but it's turning, how to say, the yields are very good. And so hopefully I'll get this finished this evening. I brought one load to the co-op and I have 2 loads gone back home. I'll put them into the silos in the morning early. I hope to get back after this now when I've this field cut to bale it this evening. And then I'm kind of finished here. This is the only corn on the home farm. We call this the highway field. Some of you was watching last year, it was in maize. Corn really does well. The French always say to rotate it after maize, and they're usually right.
So I've just arrived here now where the fire was earlier, so I'm going to show you. So this is our field here that we call the highway. This is the field of corn Dad's in there cutting now. I'll go and film him now in a second. And just across this small little road, you can see all the edge here is burnt. So it is all just black, burnt to ashes, all the way down along to the end of the corner there. You can see the highway is just there where the lorries are going past, and our field ends there. So that is our first field of corn, and very luckily it hasn't gone up in flames because this is very, very close to it. Don't actually know what started this fire, whether someone threw out a cigarette butt, whether there was metal on the ground. The place is so dry it's going to catch flames. Now down south of France they're getting a lot of forest fires and just fires all around. When we saw the smoke from the house, we thought maybe our cereal had gone up on fire, so got a bit of a fright there. Luckily it is just the edge of the road, but yeah, just to show how easily it can actually go up in flames. We got very, very lucky because all it takes is one spark to go up in the air and fly over with a bit of wind, and all of our field could have been gone. You know how easy straw gets up in flames. So yeah, we got a lucky escape there. So now Dad's over there combining, and I'm just going to go over now and throw up the drone and get some footage for you. Okay, so Dad got all of the highway field cut yesterday, so he's all that combined, and he was up there baling it last night. Now I think he said he has a problem with the combine, so he's going fixing that now today, so I will go up there with the camera and it'll show you exactly what he's at and what went wrong. Yesterday when he was up baling, myself and Mum were here on the farm, and when we walked out the door we noticed that there was a lot of smoke in the air, which got a bit worrying. We knew it wasn't a machine on fire, or we thought it wasn't a machine on fire, because it wasn't black smoke and it didn't have that smell. It did smell like it could have been corn or a forest or God only knows what. And with all the fires going on, we thought that there could have been a fire somewhere around us. So I threw up the drone. To have a look and see if I could see in the distance any flames or anywhere where the smoke was a bit heavier and where it was coming from. But all I could see was that the entire of the land around us was just covered in smoke, which told us that it wasn't anywhere near. So when I looked it up, it turns out that the smoke was coming all the way from the fires in the Gironde, which is just under 400 kilometers away, and the wind brought it all the way over here to us. So today all the smoke is cleared. There is a little bit of overcast. I think we're promised thunderstorms tonight. I'm not sure if Dad is going back combining today. I suppose it depends on how quickly he gets it fixed. So I will show you that now.
So we're here at our combine. Problem with it, we have about 30 acres, maybe a bit more, cut, and it started knocking yesterday evening. So I'll turn around the camera now. So what happened was, the motor I put on last year, the bolts to hold it on, sheared off. Now maybe they're just not as hard a bolt, but I got hard bolts. Emily sent them off for him, so I'll turn it around and show you. There's the motor, or the gearbox that drives the, there's nothing wrong with it. It cut all the cordon last year, but the cordon is very heavy this year, which is a good thing, but it must have put pressure on. Now the bolts that came with it must have been not as hard, because they just seemed to sheared off. I got 12.9s, the real hard bolt. Now I was drilling one of the studs out there with it, and if it was a hard bolt, there was 4 bolts came with it when I got it. This came back from Ireland, so there was 4 bolts in it, but there mustn't have been a very high quality bolt, because they just sheared off. There's no damage done much. There's no damage done at all, only the bolts is broke, and I got bolts and hopefully got out the 4, and we're back in action. Now, lucky enough, see the clouds. It was 42 degrees yesterday, and I don't know what it is today, but we're promised thunderstorms. So I mightn't be even cutting today. As well as that, there's a little tipping somewhere in there, so I want to go through that. And I just gave her a bit of a day over now today to make sure. I took it out kind of in a hurry, which probably is never a good job. And we'll get that done. So all this cut is baled and all now, so I'm okay. I have this plate off that goes on. Now that was a homemade plate. I don't know why. Otherwise that should be okay. Yeah, the bolts are I was drilling the bolts, and if they were hard stuff you wouldn't drill them as good. So now that there's one still broke down there, so I have a kind of a little hole drilled in there, so I haven't to drill down enough for an easy out. But if you get a file and take the handle off it, the sharp corners on it, and it's hard, and when you bait it down into it, the corners, they're hard corners, they'll cut into the stud, and then you twist it out. So I'll maybe set up the camera if I can and show you. That took it out. It's actually a good idea. Sometimes you can put a vice grips on it there, and it does the trick. So it's just another thing we often use in the mines and this and that. Easy outs work okay, but you have to have a fair long hole. That's only gone down That hole's only gone down about 8 mil, and that's it. There's Madame and the dog crossing the yard. So now I have to go feed the cattle and eat the breakfast and get this back together. Okay, sometimes if the stud is broke down in the hole, like it was in this one, it's hard to just guess the centre, and you want to be careful that the drill bit doesn't slide off. So what I often do is get a nice drill bit that's nice and snug for the hole, and just run that down till it kind of centres the stud. Centres makes a small little hole in the drill bit, or in the stud, and then you can go along and drill and it won't slide. Now you can do a centre punch, but sometimes that doesn't be always as good. So what I have to do now is blow out all them holes and wash them out. Now I see some of them holes there on that. The threads are not great on it, so maybe they were like that the whole time. I got these bolts yesterday. They're real hard, and they're all I could get. Now I would have preferred, that's too long, that one, but I might thread it and cut them off here. I prefer that little shoulder where it fits into the plate, where it fits bolts on, because it's a little bit, the shoulder is a bit bigger than the threads, and it'll be tighter in the hole, whether this one won't be fully as tight. There's the holes. That one is pretty good, and that one you can see, because there's a maybe 2 mil of a difference in the lip there. So there's another thing that I was thinking of doing as well. You can see the mark here where the yoke fits around. I was thinking of putting a little small bit of flat iron there and there, and it's to take the pressure off the bolts. Now, like I said, your man made up that plate, and I'm not sure, but I think the last one was tighter in there. I think that lip was bigger on the last one and it kept it tighter. So whether I get another little piece of metal now that fits over it and keep that tight, like the bolts are really only to keep it down, but if it has to keep the hole, it's that motor, that truck goes back and forth like that, and eventually it's going to put pressure on it. Never had problem with the other one coming loose like that. So now I have these bolts. That's a bolt like what was in it. How you know? Now it's right on the top of them. Well, I can barely see the other ones. So how you know if it's a good hard? If you get a hacksaw blade, now that feels soft. Now here's, see, it's just sliding off it now. Yeah, that one I just sawed into it, no bother. That's, you'd feel how hard they are. So if you have no way of knowing and you can't see the head of it, you better check it with the hacksaw. It'll nearly dance off a good hard bolt. And so I'm going to use these. I prefer that colour. And there's one of them now in the corner. I might have to thread this out and make a stud to get a nut on it, because in the corner I won't be able to get the something with the Allen key. I need a spanner. So and I don't want to use that whole soft bolt. I have the piece in place there now, and I made these little lads there, and then a weld on there, and one on the inside, and that'll keep it firm, so the bolts then are really only holding it down. I still think that sleeve underneath should have fit tight into the hole, but anyways, this will do it. And it's easier to do it now before I put this back onto the motor. So I'll weld them on and make up a stud. So I'm back here now threading these down to the last on 2 of them, so I can put a self-locking nut on the top. So these are just my taps and die sets. This is the big one I have over there in the press. This is another one I do use a good bit. Why I bought this one is, if you have a stud on the machine and you don't want to take it off and the threads are bad, you can put it on and use a spanner, because you mightn't have room for a big handle. So they're handy for that. You can just screw that on the same as you or a socket. Screw it on and it'll clean up the threads nicely for you, and you don't, whether this one, these are round and you can't use them. They only work on the handle. I use this, it's just liquid grease. I never use WD-40, I don't have any faith in it at all. There's not enough lubricant in it. So I use, this is just a lubricant grease, or I use chain oil. I find chain oil very good as well. Now do a half a turn and go back. Now, when you're using these ones, at the first go, you have to give it 2 goes. The first go, you tighten that in so it splits this up, so it doesn't be taking the full big bite. Then when you have it done the first go, let off the middle one and tighten in the 2 side ones. That's the best about this set, then that's it. These ones you can't adjust at all, but they work okay. So now I have the head cut off, so I want to finish this out, the threading. So to hold the stud without damaging it, I do get 2 bolts and you lock one against the other, like that. Good and tight. So then you can put that into the vise, and so I have the stud in there, because it has to go on the inside. It's very hard to get at, and I put a self-locking nut on it. I have that Loctited in. Now where's the Loctite? So this is the Loctite I use sometimes. That's the red one. So the red is, if you put them on studs, they won't come out again without giving them a heat. So then, if your bolts that you want to take out, now and again you have the blue. Hopefully now when I have it in, should be okay for another while. Now it's all back together again, and I hope it's okay this time. So check out a few more things now, another bit of oiling up on that, and might get her over to the field this evening so we can have an early start tomorrow.